The process of getting a grant or writing a grant proposal can sound kind of mysterious, kind of like an old family recipe with secret ingredients. A grant proposal, however, is not a fast food or even a 10-minute recipe. It requires careful thought and planning. The better you plan on the front end, the greater the likelihood that the program will be successful, not just in obtaining a grant, but in making a difference in the lives of others. And after all, that's really what it's all about, right? In this class, you'll be learning to create a compelling proposal that you will find simply requires common ingredients, put together in a logical and understandable sequence, and using tried and true techniques. First, let's talk about what a grant is and what it is not. In most cases, a grant is support that does not need to be repaid. Usually it is in the form of money, but it may be technical assistance or training. Grants are usually awarded after the submission of a written proposal. So the grant is the funding or other assistance that is received as a result of a grant proposal or grant application. A grant is not the written document that we submit to a potential funding source. The written document we submit to a potential funding source is the grant proposal or application. Now, each funder sets its own eligibility criteria for grant proposals or applications, as well as those who are applying for the grants, those who are eligible to apply for the grant. Eligible applicants are typically, but not always, nonprofit organizations or public agencies. Nonprofits are often required to be 501c3 organizations under the IRS. I've provided a link for you in this learning module, Module 4, to IRS information on nonprofits, so please be sure to take a look at that information. Grants for profit entities or to private individuals do exist, but they're far less common. Now, each funder will also have its own application process, and degree of detail required will vary. What I want to be clear about is that we will be talking about the basic recipe for a grant proposal in this class. Please understand that some funders may require extra or different information or special ingredients. So let's take a look at the basic ingredients required in a typical proposal and how to include them. Funders look carefully at the applicant organization's history, leadership, and track record. A grant proposal or application should offer factual and objective descriptions of the organization's accomplishments, including statistics and examples, highlighting achievements that will be most meaningful to the potential funder. You should season your proposal with a quote from someone in the community who values the contributions of the organization. If your organization is new and its track record is brief, look to the background of the staff and board of directors to provide credibility and stress community partnerships to build the funder's confidence in the new organization's ability to achieve results. You can consider this section of the proposal as a resume for your organization. Your goal is to impress the grant reviewer with the organization's credibility and qualifications. The needs assessment section of a grant proposal might be called the problem statement, a statement of need, or something similar, and will typically be the first section you will address in your proposal, but it will definitely be the first section you will address on your group website. The discussion of the problem to be addressed lays the foundation of the program plan, and if this section is weak, so goes the rest of the proposal. A strong statement of the problem will address all of the following. Now, I want to go into detail on this for this week and in this lecture, since we'll be looking at this more closely in next week's learning module, but I wanted you to have an idea of what you'll be looking at for your needs assessment in the future. After you have clearly identified the situation that needs to be changed, it's time to specify the outcomes you hope the grant-funded program will achieve. Funders use lots of different terms and may call these expected program results terms such as program outcomes, program objectives, or even program goals. Whatever they are called, think about this. What do you expect to result from the program or your organization you will run? Propose outcomes that are specific and measurable and that will be accomplished within a set time frame. If you have a well-defined problem, the outcomes will follow logically. Often, grant writers will use a logic model to identify the program's goals and objectives. We will be covering this section on goals, objectives, and implementation plans for your website as well. So expect to be developing a logic model to show the program's goals and objectives. Once you have the logic model developed, the implementation plan is easily developed. The implementation plan is your well thought out plan of action. You will lay out how you will accomplish the projected outcomes. Funders also call the implementation plan by a variety of names, and they may call this section methods, approach, plan of action, or program plan, or something like that. But no matter what they call it, this is what you plan to do when you get the grant. You'll want to include who, what, when, where, and how. Explain it like you would explain a program to someone who knew nothing about it. You can see this here, but again, this is just an overview, and I will not go into any detail here. Nearly every funder will ask for a description of how you will evaluate the grant-funded program. Funders want to know that their investment in you was a good one. This stumps a lot of people, but it doesn't have to be overwhelming. Simply put, the evaluation plan describes how you will measure the level to which the program is achieving the expected outcomes and will document the program activities unfolded according to plans, as well as any course corrections you are making and why you may be making those corrections. Now it's time to put dollars to the plan. How much will this cost? You have to be specific and account for all the ingredients in your program recipe. Here you see a general guideline for a simple budget, but again, we'll be covering this in detail, so remember, this information is provided to help you get started thinking about all you will be working on over the course of the next few weeks. Here's some general tips to keep in mind as you're working through your different components of your grant proposal. First, edit, edit, edit. You have to get rid of excess words. You have to write each section so anyone can understand what you mean. You use simple language. A grant proposal is not the place to dazzle others with your vast vocabulary. Also, avoid acronyms or jargon. In fact, don't even use them. Have someone who is not familiar with your organization or your proposed program read the grant proposal. Can they understand what you are saying? Make your point at the beginning of each section and at the beginning of each paragraph. This prepares the proposal for skimming. Remember, reviewers usually have many proposals to read. You have to get to the point. And lastly, include the human face. Quotes, examples, brief anecdotes, all of these can make your proposals more readable and understandable. Remember that reviewers are human, and the more interesting we make our proposals, the more likely the readers are to read them thoroughly. There are many sources in which to find funders. The key is to find the right funder and match it to the project you are proposing. And this just takes time, lots of searching, and more time. There are too many potential sources to list in this lecture, but I wanted to direct you to some of the sources and resources you have available to you to help you in your search. In this learning module, Module 4, I have a document that provides web links to a number of potential sites to search for grant funding. Under the Course Information tab on the navigational toolbar, I've included these same sources. Also, you will find these same sources again on the Resources link under the Discussions tab on the navigational toolbar. Of course, you have your course textbook in Chapter 1 that identifies some potential sources for you. And lastly, the UNT Dallas's library has a couple of databases that you can search. If you need help finding these databases or narrowing your search to find a grant, you can always contact the head librarian, Brenda Robinson, for assistance. Remember, it takes a lot of time to find the right funder, so start now. Don't delay. Oh, one last thing. Under this learning module, I've also included a document in the Learning Materials folder that you can use to help direct your search and document 3 potential funders for your project. I strongly suggest you use this document to help narrow your search. Happy searching and good luck.